Hello there, Pursuing Freedom friends. This is your host, Erin Bradley, and I'm so glad you're with us today because I'm on like super nerd alert right now because I have Rebecca Green with us today, and we had the privilege of having Rebecca provide a guest coaching session inside of our community, the collective, this morning. And the response has been unanimously just wow. She's been selling real estate for over 30 years, I believe, because she started when she was 4, based on how she looks. But no, she's
Thank
been
you.
in the real estate space for over 30 years, and she's created incredible implementation of systems around all things marketing, technology, operations. She's scaled a beautiful small but mighty team, and she's also gone on to become the founder of an incredible coaching organization that I adore called the CEO Agent Academy. What I love about Rebecca is that she is so philosophically aligned with everything we believe in here at Pursuing Freedom. And she just has one of those brains that I am jealous of because she's so systems oriented, which is not my forte. So it was such a special gift to have her become a contributor inside the collective, which is just so exciting. We're adding so much more value to our members by bringing in other perspectives, personalities, modalities, and Rebecca is the pioneer of the coaches collective that we are developing. So super grateful to have you twice in one day, Rebecca. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, that was quite the introduction. Of course, it was a pleasure to be inside of your collective. What a great group of eager business owners. I loved it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, so I would love to start a little bit with a background here, Rebecca. You've been in the business for a long time, and I know what your business looks like now, which I want to figure out how we can get to where you are today, passionate about helping other agents and real estate professionals with simplifying the success of their business through systems and scale. But talk us through the journey a little bit. How did you fall into it? How did you get to where you are today?
So I started selling real estate when I was 19. I remember my first closing. I wasn't yet 21, and my clients were so excited and wanted to go out for a celebratory cocktail. And I was like, how am I going to manage this one? Because I didn't want them to panic that they had just bought, and this was, 30 plus years ago, a $400,000 house from a kid. So that was my very first closing, and I've loved the business ever since. I quickly actually built my first team. I had two babies. I got married. I had two babies under two. I needed support. I needed an infrastructure because I wanted to be home with my babies and I wanted to keep my job. And going back, 30 plus years ago, that wasn't as people didn't do it as much. It was you can have this or you can have that. And I wanted both. And so I built my first team and I never looked back. I've always had a team. And as I was growing up in the real estate business, I was facing, brokerage backlash for having a team, everything down to we don't have the fee structure for it. And that was not 25 years ago. I even saw that just 10 years ago, 5 years ago. And I could never understand that. We're definitely better together. And the concept of collaboration and learning from each other and being in a close environment with like minded people, that was just always so appealing to me. And it benefited me in infinite ways as I was growing up in the real estate industry. 30 plus years ago, two babies under two, I was doing 40 to 45 deals a year. So, I was certainly active in the business and over the years grew my team to 70 to 100 transactions a year, $100 million a year. But I'm just going to stop right there and say GCI and volume means nothing. And although it was a metric that I tracked and monitored and grew, I quickly realized, not quickly, actually, in a hot second, I realized that profitability was so much more important than GCI and volume. And that's when I pivoted and completely changed everything in my business.
Okay, so there's a lot to explore here. First, I want to, I guess, ask you, we were laughing this morning talking about how you were using a pager when you got into the real estate
Oh,
business.
yeah.
So,
Talk about aging me.
Well, 30 plus years ago was a very different world. So I guess my first question is, I understand that you built the team out of necessity. There are a lot of people that we talk to that need that too, but continue to avoid
Mm,
it because the fears are so loud. How did you
mhm.
overcome any fear, and how did you create success? And I guess, how does team building look different or the same today versus then? I mean, is it all about culture? Is it the systems? Is it everything? Like, how did you have the guts to do it? Because a
Mm.
lot of people listening just they think that sounds great, but they're so overwhelmed by the thought of it.
Real estate's such an interesting business model, and growth became long ago like a badge of exhaustion. Success was a badge of exhaustion. Full inboxes and chaos or busyness was a badge of honor that so many agents wore. And honestly, I had two babies and I was already exhausted. I certainly didn't need more exhaustion from my business. I had two under two, right? I had two girls, 15 months apart. And so, yes, I originally built my team out of necessity, but I won't shy from the fact that over time, I was still taking on more than I should have. I still had a team, I had support, but I was super controlling with a lot of what I was doing. So I was on the hamster wheel just like everyone else, even though I had a team. And so that was fear based. The earlier days, that was fear based. If I let go of this, it wasn't going to be done the way I wanted it. It wasn't going to be done the right way. And it took a lot of growing up, in my age, in myself, but also growing up in my business to recognize that that's not the right type of team to build. And so for me, I always thought of a team like I like football and I like shoes. So most of my analogies are surrounded around football or shoes. You can't have all kickers on a football team. You can't have all quarterbacks on a football team. So as I grew up in the business, I recognized I needed people around me that were better at certain things than I was. We needed to complement each other. That's such an important component. I have a lot of agents that are high producing agents that I've coached over the years, and they're so hell bent on like they need them. I want somebody to step in and be me. And I'm like, oh, that's just so unrealistic because if they were you, they'd also be a team lead doing their own thing, right? So ultimately, a team leader has to be open to having a team and having somebody help them. And they have to be open to somebody being better than them at certain things. And they have to let go. And that's really where there's fear about starting one. But I think even those who have teams, there can be fear in that space too, if that makes sense.
Yes. What's interesting too is you talked about how one of the fears is, God forbid, somebody messes something up. And I always laugh because I think about everyone I know who's a top producer that became successful and became great at putting together a perfect transaction. The reason that we became great at putting together a perfect transaction is because we care. It's
Yes.
it's literally, I care so much about my clients that I will
Yeah.
not sleep tonight if this gets messed up. So I will force myself to be great at things I don't really enjoy. I'm not that good at. Definitely somebody could do it better than me, and it's exhausting. And the funny part about all of that is that I'm not that smart. Like, if I could become good at providing a great experience, it's mainly from the heart. So if I can hire people with heart that have different
Yes.
skill sets, we
Hmm.
can create a superhuman of
Hmm.
individuals with different talents that complement one another. Now, as you went on this journey, and it's all a learning experience. I mean, I think that's the big thing is like we don't see all of the dots. We just start. I think Martin Luther King said you don't have to see the whole staircase. You just take the first step. And I loved how you said a badge of exhaustion because so many people listening can relate to that. And the question is, how long are you going to suck it up before you make a
Yeah.
change, before you take the first step? So I want to backtrack a little bit to what you said there about realizing that you were chasing volume, you were chasing units, and then something woke you up to realizing that you want to chase profitability. So what happened there, and what did you learn that you needed to shift to make sure that you were focused on profit over
Mhm.
volume numbers.
I was exhausted. I was just to the core exhausted. And this was going back just not too many years ago. I had always tracked my numbers because I don't know, I kind of nerd out on that stuff. And I was always great at tracking ROI. Whatever I was spending, I wanted to make sure that there was a return attached to it. And so I was always good at that. But in the middle of COVID, when deals were coming so fast, right? Like everything was moving at, lightning speed, and or you weren't getting the deals done because you weren't moving as fast as the market was moving. It was a great, very interesting time in the industry, but I was throwing money away just to get things done, right? I would, because I was tired. I was beyond tired. And I was getting older, and started to really think, oh my gosh, wait, I talk so much about what retirement looks like, but ultimately, what I'm building is not a business that I can retire on. And what I mean by that is when you are the business, there is no business. You're actually just doing the job. And so the epiphany was, oh, I can have 100 deals a year and I can do $100 million a year. But I was also producing such a high percentage of that inside of my team that if I took myself out of it, volume shrunk and profitability changed. So I recognized I was doing the job and not building a business, and you can't retire on that. And I also didn't want to be an agent that was selling real estate at 80.
If someone's listening, and I am certain someone is hearing this and you're speaking straight to their soul, they're like, oh my gosh,
I know.
she gets me. She gets me.
Yeah.
What has changed to make it that you have a business that you can retire from? Like, this is something that's such
Yeah.
an important topic that is also so, I feel, minimally discussed. So
Mhm.
what are you
Yeah.
implementing that's creating a new vision and a new reality for you?
Yeah. Minimally discussed, like so minimally discussed that I feel like calling all the past brokerages I work for and telling them I need a refund, because learning how to sell a house is a very small percentage of what we should be learning. And for all these years and all this volume and all this money paid into brokerages, the conversation never came to the table about how are you going to retire and how are you building a business that can be profitable and scalable and you can retire on. So, what was different for me was, or what is different right now, is I started looking at other sources of income, not having all of your eggs in one basket, some sort of passive income. I also started to look at my team structure and knowing that maybe I needed to increase the number of agents on the team to replace my income. But ultimately, if I spent more time in the mentoring space, all of the agents in my world, all of the agents on my team would get better and do more deals. So it was a shift in dynamics and it was a shift in who was doing what. And it sounds like it is a crazy hard thing to do, but if you're intentional about it, it's not. Don't get me wrong. Somebody said to me, what's the one thing no one knows about you? Okay, no one knows that I walked away from $1 million a year in income and I was happy with the $150,000 in income that first year that I walked away from it because I just blew everything up. Crazy, maybe. Do I look back and think crazy? Definitely. Would I do it any differently? Absolutely not. You have to be willing to take a little bit of risk. That was a lot of risk. You've got to be willing to take a little bit of risk, but you also have to start to look at, if I do less better and I make more per transaction, the volume and the GCI don't matter because I'm still profiting more. So I'm still keeping more. And that's the math that I think some agents struggle with actually, processing or looking at. And mostly it's because they don't have anyone to talk to about
Yeah, and which is a huge topic that you and I were talking about before we started recording, which is this loneliness epidemic that's
it.
happening because the rise of technology and the ability to, work from home during COVID and all these things has perpetuated, I feel, a feeling of isolation where a lot of individuals feel like they're suffering alone.
Yeah.
And when given the opportunity to get in the room with your peers and some mentors, very quickly I see the guard comes down, people are willing to be vulnerable. They start to share what their stressors are. They start to share how exhausted and overwhelmed and disorganized they feel. And all of a sudden, you recognize you're not alone. And it's totally okay to acknowledge this because I feel like we're on a journey of ascension in our lives.
Mhm.
And you talk about walking away from that. And I do believe that we have to have the courage to make tough decisions when things are out of alignment. And I equate it to breaking up with somebody. Like
Mhm.
if you've ever broken up with somebody, you probably knew it was what needed to happen for a very long time before you had
Mhm.
the courage to have that difficult conversation. And rarely do we look back and think, oh, I should go back to that old relationship or that old job that I quit. Like, yeah, it's hard and you have to have courage. And it typically is the beginning of you opening the portal to the next level where your impact can expand and your ROI can follow your impact. So, what major changes happened after you made this leap of faith? I mean, I'm sure that I'm thinking to myself, like, how do you rebuild from there once you've stepped out of
Yeah.
transactions if that's what we tether our identity to?
I changed brokerages immediately because I recognized the 150, $160,000 a year I was paying in brokerage fees was part of the hamster wheel. How many transactions do you have to do just to pay your dues? So that was the first thing. I did it in a hot second. It was like, I need to change. I'm going to do it right now. And I did it. The other thing was my business was built largely on relocation. And I recognized that that might not be a great business model. Super expensive, right? Because you're paying high relocation fees. My market coverage was huge because relocation requires that. You have to know a lot about a big, geographical area. And sure, I could change, I could turn one deal into three, four, or five. But the reality is that relocation buyers coming into a market sometimes don't really get ingrained in communities because they know they're only here for a few years.
Mm,
So my niche changed. I also changed my niche immediately. And, I did a lot of relocation. I did a lot of luxury. I still do luxury. I still, work with some relocation clients, but I shifted and I niched down. And I'm still in the process of that. What does that look like? So those are a couple of shifts that I made. And then I recognized that I needed 6 agents instead of 3. So I needed 6 agents because that's double the agent count. That's going to compensate for where my production, where I changed my own personal production. So I needed a minimum of 6 agents. And the systems that I had built were always strong enough and functional and scalable that I really could pull 100 agents in and the systems would still function. So when I had just the 3 agents in myself, it wasn't because the systems weren't in place. The systems were in place. I just wasn't leaning hard enough into them, right?
yeah.
I wasn't trusting them enough. And so I kept my agent count down because I wanted to be able to provide attention and time and resources and value. And so that was a shift too. And I think there is a fear for agents that are building teams. Oh gosh, like I can't have 6 or 10 or 20. Like I can't have too many agents. There's a fear based around that. There's a sweet spot and there's a number for everyone. And my numbers are going to be different from the next. But it was the exploring how I could take the old income and back it out and the old profit and back that out and just build differently around it. It's no different than negotiating a deal where you need seller credits for your buyer or you need an interest rate buy down. They're all puzzle pieces that you have to put together. And, another thing that I recognized in the busyness space of more deals, more volume, go, 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 you start to make bad decisions. You are no longer able, you're not spending time evaluating anything that you're doing. That is so problematic. That is so problematic. So, although the first 12 months was like a nosedive, right? Um, the 12 to 18, the 12 to 24, which I'm in right now, right? I'm in the 18 to 24 swing, has been so good. so so good on all levels. I have, I'm also helping another thing, another mistake I made is because I was doing the job, the agents around me were just doing the job as well. And I've shifted to when I talk to agents about joining the team, I am really here to help agents build businesses. And if you are a business builder, I am all in with you. If you are here just looking for leads, just looking to get from one closing to the next closing, I'm not the right space.
Love that. It's interesting because when you started talking about the puzzle pieces and the rate buy down, and you're saying these are just puzzle pieces, running a business are puzzle pieces. My mind immediately went to the agent and lender that's running ragged, that's trying to hold up this sinking ship while treading
Mm,
water, that
mm,
should be on the bow of the ship, steering the ship with
mhm,
other people on the ship with them, rowing in the same direction. And the business
mhm,
owner is charting the course and troubleshooting and changing directions. But the drowning agent or lender is just treading water, swimming. They can't even see where they could possibly go. They can't even see the island because they're in the water, right?
mhm,
And you then quickly said, but the busyness, right? And it's so interesting because when you start to remove yourself as the bottleneck in your business, you become a more present, more energized, more focused, more pleasant
more
person. I
pleasant.
mean, a better
For sure.
person, which makes you a better leader. It makes you a better
Yep.
spouse, a better friend, all the things. And we hold ourselves back from what's available to us. And earlier you said, if I could do less, better. It's one of these things that I get so fired up about because I know what is possible because I ran ragged as a solopreneur for almost a decade before I got out of my own way. And I learned to do less better with so
Mhm,
much more energy and so much more present moments. And it's like, I want
mhm,
to just shake everybody that's out there and say,
mhm,
it is so much better. It is so possible. And it's not rocket science. So
mm.
talk us through what kind of non-negotiables are part of the systems that help you run a business that would support, if you wanted, which I know you don't, but if you wanted 100 agents or you wanted 3, it's strong enough to hold any amount.
The non-negotiables are you have to say no to more. And agents, real estate is a business where agents fear saying no. And I always counsel them. We get the gut feeling like not the right client. This one's going to be a nightmare, right? When you say no to one thing, it's amazing how so many other doors open up. So you have to be willing to say no. That's a non negotiable, without a doubt. And you have to be willing to actually not only have systems and structure in place, but you have to be willing to lean into them and use them. And as a team lead, you have to make those things non negotiable with the agents that you bring on, or you're just creating a different kind of chaos. So let's
Mhm.
just kind of talk about scale for a second. Scaling doesn't mean saying yes to more. It doesn't mean more volume. It doesn't mean more GCI. It really means building a business that can maybe handle more if you want it to, but it's to give you time back, right? And the problem with most agents when you talk about scale or when they try to scale, they actually think they can outwork inefficiency. Okay, they think they can outwork inefficiency. They hit a production ceiling or they get their team to the production ceiling, and then they decide to double down and they go more ads, more hours, more of everything because that's their idea of scale. And I've learned that it's the exact opposite. You have to say no more and you have to be more selective with where you spend your time. And you can't fall back into old patterns. It would be nothing for me to turn around and go sell 60 houses the next 12 months. I could totally do it. There are days where I'm like, oh, I miss some of what I used to do, right? Like, but I'm better where I am right now, as you mentioned the ship. I'm so much better in the space that I'm in. And at the end of the day, we are running a football team. We're playing football. We can't all be the same position. And so that's also a non negotiable. You can't slip back into bad habits. And one of the things that I coach to, especially when the market, changes or shifts or our pipeline is a little bit less full than we want it to be, agents tend to go right back to bad habits because they're fearful. And you've just got to be confident and push through it. right? There aren't any shortcuts. Look, I'm talking about working, doing less in some ways. It doesn't it doesn't mean that it's easy street. There are no shortcuts. There's still a lot of work that's going in I still spend an enormous amount of time building the business and building structure and building tools and whatnot, but I'm not willing to fall back into the bad habits.
Yeah, I love that. So when did you wake up to the idea to create the CEO Agent Academy, and what does that look like,
Yeah,
logistically speaking? Can you talk us through that? It's so incredible, and my members of my community were so blessed to get
thank you.
to experience your coaching today live, and then to know that they have access to your program. It's such a perfect complement to
Thank you.
what I believe in and the philosophy of pursuing freedom. I just love it so much.
Yeah. So funny enough, I actually had the idea 4 years before I did it. I had broken my ankle and couldn't walk. And I was still running my team, right? I mean, I was still doing deals, still negotiating contracts, still getting things done. I was physically not showing property. I was physically not staging our listings or not at the listing appointments, right? But I was still very, very much so working. And I couldn't walk for, I mean, I think it was 8 weeks or something with this leg situation. So my mind was going, and I was like, wait, I'm doing all these deals right here. I'm not even in person. Like, I'm right here. And this was before COVID, and this was before all of our Zoom meetings. And I'm like, huh, this is an interesting concept. And so I started the framework for it. And I think the day I actually launched the coaching business, the email that I wrote that went out to everyone said 1,487 days ago or 1,495 days ago. That's how many days it had been circling before I actually did it. So why didn't I do it sooner? Because I went right back to the old habits. I got that thing off my foot and I was out, right? So I went back to the old habits and it was just ruminating and ruminating. But I believe that things happen for a reason and timing is something we should not ignore, right? We should pay attention to the signs and all of that. So the journey to the coaching started a long time before I actually did it. And I was a little bit fearful to do it, even though I had done all of these things in my career and I had coached all of these agents and I was in corporate, I was director of business development and marketing for a big brand and I helped hire 200 agents. I mentored a lot of them, coached a lot of them, did a lot of marketing for the whole company. There was a FOMO. All right, I'm going to stop selling real estate. Now I'm going to teach people how to do it. I had always been teaching people how to do it. So there was a little bit about that. There was a little of that. And then I actually had a great working relationship with the leaders inside the brokerage I was with. We were having wine, and I randomly said something about the coaching business. And when you talk about loneliness and you talk about getting into the right rooms, I want everyone to listen to this. I mentioned something about the coaching business. Now, mind you, the agents that were on my team at that time had all been referred to me by the brokerage, by leadership in the brokerage. They needed help, they needed assistance. I thought that that was such an amazing, like, oh my gosh, that's such an honor. Thank you so much. And oh my gosh, you're helping me build my business. I was actually just coaching agents for them. Okay.
Nice.
So, like, I don't know what memo I missed there, but I don't think I realized that until, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. I was like, wait a second. It was a little bit longer than 2 weeks ago. But so I mentioned the coaching business, and the response was, oh, that sounds great. Just don't coach the competition. So
Mhm.
limiting, so closed. I walked away and I was like, huh, I'm going to have to ruminate on that for a minute. And it just I didn't have a lot of extra thinking time, but on my free, when I had free space, I was like, wait, is that so incredibly limiting? That the conversation kept replaying in my mind. And also, what was replaying in my mind was that my exposure to education about entrepreneurship and the industry was siloed to the brokerage that I was at. It was so siloed. And I was like, oh, not only do I need to get out of my own way, I need to get out of this because I'm either seeking things out, but I don't have the time to fully, invest in it. So there was this loneliness inside of the number one brokerage in my market. It's kind of crazy. But at the end of the day, everyone there is your direct competition, and you are in a way hoofing the same stuff. You're
Mhm.
hoofing the same stats. You're different than the next person, but you're kind of hoofing the same stats. And you're just siloed in your education and siloed in your, philosophies and the way of doing business. And so that ruminated for a really long time. And then I just something snapped and I was like, this is not sustainable. And this is not what I want. And this is not what I want for my family. And also, I was exhausted. I'll go right back to that. I was just through and through exhausted. And for the first time in my life, because I'm an excitable person and I get really excited about real estate. And I could talk about it all day long. First time home buyer, luxury buyer, you name it. I'm in. I'm in for the conversation. For the first time in my business, I found myself so unmotivated by the industry and so like, ugh, I don't want to
Mhm.
talk to anybody about anything. And I was like, you know what, Rebecca, that is not who you are. You need to do something different. And I did
Mhm.
it. I turned to my husband and I was like, I'm going to move brokerages. And he was like, when? Should we talk about it? And I said, no, next week. He said, okay. And that's what happened.
I love it. So what does the CEO Agent Academy provide and what does it entail?
Yes. Yes. So all of the mistakes that I made over the last 34 years are right there. Don't do it. So let's just start there. I don't want that for you. I didn't really want it for me, but I didn't know any better, so I don't want it for you. No, there is a lot of that, but in all seriousness, it's every system that I still use for my team. It's every email workflow. It's every email template that I use. We have a 17-point check system for our listing process. We have a 25-point check system on our transaction process. It's strategy behind all of it. I know a lot of agents will like buy an email template pack and there's no strategy behind it. It's the strategy behind how to actually deliver the buyer agency agreements to get buyers to sign. So it's a lot of strategy. It's a lot of operations and marketing. There are great guides, buyer guides, seller guides, everything you need to run a real estate business. And that's all amazing. But the best part is the community that I didn't even know I needed until I had it. And I was like, wow, this is pretty special. And so the community of women who are business builders, who are facing the same problems, who are struggling with the same things, the conversations and the connection and the collaboration, that is really the home run. That is really
Totally.
the home run, right? You've got the strategy, you've got the content, you have, I do a lot of content marketing for agents, newsletters, done for you, not done for you, done with you, social media. I don't believe in copy and paste because I'm so keyed in on authenticity. And I'm going to say something one way, and Erin, you're going to say it a different way. But the framework for a great newsletter is there so that you can stay top of mind with clients. Locally, we do media and implementation days. So, media days, and this is like filling the gap, right? Okay. So, I need to do more social media marketing or I need to do better marketing, but that requires me to put another hat on. It's not enough for me to be the CEO and the CFO and the CMO and the chief floor sweeper and the light bulb changer. But now I have to be like a production person and I have to go out and walk around town and take videos of myself and take pictures of everywhere I go. It never worked for me. I hated it. And also, I was so busy doing everything else that it wasn't a priority. So I wasn't doing it. So I created media and implementation days. So local agents, 6 times a year, I have the photographer, the videographer, and a social media manager in a curated space. We've done it in houses, we've done it at studios, and agents come in and get 60 days worth of content shot for them. I tell them to bring 8 outfits. There are 25 different locations for them to take pictures on. I have to give credit to my friend Kristen Cantrell with Hello Culture. She introduced me to the concept, and boy, what an amazing thing it has been. But even that, where you think, oh, fancy photo shoots and great videos and great B-roll, the conversations are always the conversations in those rooms with those women are always better than the content, and the content's really good.
Yeah, I agree. I love the content. I see it everywhere with all of you. I've been playing phone tag with Kristen because I know that we need to connect and I want to have her on the show
Yes.
and I want to support her because I love supporting women creating massive value and impact in the marketplace because again, I feel like so many of us are craving it. And
Yeah.
I just think that we're moving into a season where we're going to see more and more of this connecting and collaborating and lifting each other up and it creates a beautiful ripple effect into the world. So gosh, I mean, we could go on for hours. I probably have
We
25
could.
more questions, but I want to respect your time. So maybe we have to have an encore performance and we are going to drop the link to the CEO Agent Academy in the show notes. Where else can folks find you and follow you, Rebecca?
On Instagram, I'm at rebeccagreen.co. I've had a love hate relationship with Instagram, but I'm showing up more regularly there because I committed to it. And rebeccagreen.co is also my website. Great blog content, lots of strategy in there. So if you are struggling with something, pop in, see if there's something there to help you get through wherever you are in this season of your business.
Well, to my Pursuing Freedom friends, in any capacity that you can get in the room with Rebecca, whether that's in person or virtually, highly, highly recommend it. As you can tell, she is a wealth of knowledge and a bundle of energy, which is why I love her so much.
Thank
And if
you.
you're looking to get more hands on support, you can also always check out the Pursuing Freedom Collective. We have a crazy special going on through the end of the year because we're so fired up about creating momentum now that's going to carry into
Yeah.
a strong start in 2026. And we're so blessed to have Rebecca contributing some of her wisdom to the community. And we're just really looking to support you in every way we can. So thank you so much, Rebecca, for being here. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. I always love our conversations and I appreciate you as well.
And again, my friends, if you have loved this conversation, share it with a friend because we all have friends in the real estate space that need to hear this and get this reminder. Leave a review if you can. Send Rebecca a DM on Instagram if there was something that spoke to your soul. And please leave that review because it helps us continue to attract these amazing guests and help more people get access to this content and build a life you don't need a vacation from. I love you. I appreciate you. We will see you next time.